What's going on, everyone? Lee Setzer here. Thanks for tuning back into my channel for a new video. And in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about how I like to rebuild all my differentials in my 8-scope vehicles. So I'll bring you guys in for a closer look. I'll walk you through my step-by-step process. So let's get started.
All right, so we got the diff out, laid out here on the microfiber. I've already done the liberty of cleaning the diff and getting everything laid out here on my towel. And before we kind of get back into rebuilding the diff, putting everything back together, I want to point out a few key things that I look I pay attention to when I'm cleaning the diff before I put it back together. And first off, for anyone that drives the associated vehicles, we have this little shim here that goes on our out drives. Just make sure that you obviously have that, you don't lose it. What can happen sometimes is when you take the out drive, when you pull it out of the diff case, it kind of gets stuck right around here. And then when you go to wipe everything down, it kind of gets lost. So just keep an eye out, make sure that you have that. Obviously, it's important because if you do not have that, the internal gear mesh could change and you have slop in and out. So that's something that I always just, make a habit to just make sure that I have all that and I don't accidentally lose it. Second thing is the bearings. I just like to make sure that the bearings are nice and lubricated. They don't have any grit to them. They feel still good to go to be put back in my vehicle. And then the last thing is just the gasket. Just to make sure the gasket has no rips, nothing like that. Just something that I like to just look at and just take it out every once in a while off the gear itself. I don't do it all the time, but every once in a while I'll take it off and just kind of make sure that there's no rips here at the holes and everything looks good to go on that. So once you've done that, you got your diff all cleaned, you can go ahead and put it back together. So first thing I like to do is take a little bit of some general purpose grease. I actually use the J Concepts red O-ring grease. For me, I like it has like a thick viscosity on it. It's something I've been using for quite a while now. So that's the grease I like to use. Obviously, you guys can use whatever grease that has found to work best for you. But I get a nice healthy coating on the groove here of the outdrive. You can be pretty hefty with this. Don't be kind of light with it. And I like to just hold my finger on the O-ring itself, just so when you push the outdrive in, it doesn't pop out. Once you get it in there, I kind of just like to spin the outdrive, work the grease in the groove inside the cup. And then we'll go ahead and take our little pin, slide it into the groove for the outdrive, make sure it's centered, make sure everything feels okay. So we got that in there. Then we'll do the gear side. This is a center diff off my Truggy, but obviously this applies to front and rear diffs, same process. So like I said, I definitely have no shame here in kind of coating this thing all over the place. So hold my finger on the O-ring, just make sure it doesn't pop out. And once I kind of get it in there, kind of just like to spin as I push in, just to kind of get everything all around coated. So once you got it in there, we'll take the outdrive pin, slide it in there, get it in the center, and then boom. After that, after you've obviously inspected your gasket, I like to just lay the gasket back in there. Sometimes when they get used, you'll have to kind of push it on the sides a little bit, just kind of gets a little flared out. So I just take a tool, I'm just using a 2.5 here, and just kind of lightly push down, just make sure that it sits flat. You got it lined up with the holes. Boom. There you go. So got our diffs together there. And next thing, obviously, is just laying in the gear. So I'll take the Big Sun gear, get it nice and seated in the groove. We'll take our first set of spider gears, throw those in there, make sure that the locking is up top. That way it keys in nicely here with the second set of spider gears. And I like to leave this one out, and I'll show you guys why when we fill the diff up with oil. So we have our diff put back together, everything's greased up, everything feels good, bearings are good, gasket's good. So oil. On my truck, I like to run 15K in the center with HTC gears. So I'll go ahead and we'll kind of fill this up, and I like to just start off with the grooves here where the spider gears sit, just to make sure that I got oil running down the grooves there. So I start there first, and then I just kind of lay it here in the center. And you don't want to have too much in there. Obviously, when you first fill it up, it's going to be at the top here, but once it all settles and the air bubbles come out, the oil level will go low. So, and I like to just fill it up a little above the cross pins at first, and then when the oil kind of goes to the bottom, to me, you have the perfect amount of oil in there. So you don't want to overfill it. If you overfill it, and when the diff builds pressure when you're on the track, you can run into what most people will call hydrolock. So the diff will just kind of lock up here and there and create an inconsistent feel around the track. So I like to let this sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll come back when this is all set in, and we'll show you how to put it back together. All right, so we let the diff sit for about 10 to 15 minutes, and you can see that most of the air bubbles are out. The diff oil, to me, is absolutely perfect. I think I got the right amount in there. So we'll go ahead and put the diff back together, and I'll show you guys why I like to leave this gear out. So I've seen most people, they'll put the gear on here, and then they'll just put the cover on, screw it back together. Well, something that I've learned just from my teammates or people that are a little bit more knowledgeable than me is that when you let the diff sit, what I like to do is I like to take the spider gear and I put it on first, and you can see that I really don't have much oil coming out, which tells me that I didn't really overfill the diff, right? So we have the gear in there. I don't have any excess oil kind of spilling out the sides, where if you were to overfill it, you would have a bunch kind of coming off. But over a period of time, when you kind of get into a rhythm of redoing your diffs at the same kind of system, you'll kind of get a feel for how much oil you'll put in. But I like to put this gear in first, and I do still like to just wipe around and just make sure I get any of the excess oil that's kind of coming out. And I like to take a 2.0, and where the cross pin sits here, I like to just clean that out and just make sure that I don't have any oil kind of in there. And that just ensures that the pin is in there without any oil. It's just peace of mind, or I guess just the way I've always done it, just making sure that we don't have any excess oil anywhere. So then once we have that, make sure that you just line the pin up in the center here of the out drive, and you just put it on top like that. Line your holes up to the diff case, and then we'll go ahead and put it back together. And when you're tightening the diff, I like to go in a cross pattern. So I'll start here, and then I'll go to here, and then here, and then here. That just ensures that when the diff, when the gear is going over the case, if you tighten just two sides of it, it doesn't kind of sit lopsided when you tighten it. So I just like to go in a star pattern or a cross pattern. So I'll do the other side. And then I'll just do a hand check with the wrench just to make sure that I got it all tight, and I'll still tighten in that star pattern, that cross pattern. And there you go. You have a diff feeling good, ready to be dropped back in the car, fresh oil. And yeah, and like I said, this obviously is a center diff to my truck, but this method, I do the same front and rear. So anyway, I appreciate you guys for watching. Thanks for tuning back into my channel. I know I've kind of been MIA for a little bit, been busy the past month and a half. So Make sure to leave a comment, subscribe, like the video, share it. I really do appreciate it, and we'll see you guys in the next one.